today, so I want to make sure to keep things moving because I know they have some conflicts. So for the agenda today, um, well, I think we have, yeah, sorry, Aaron, I'll do the agenda first, and then we'll do the other introductions. So here's the agenda for today. We have leadership from the Transportation Committee here to talk to us. We'll have some updates from agencies about what's going on in the legislative arena from our agency's side. DES will provide an update on some of the enforcement efforts they're doing. We'll have an update from from OSTA on the municipal automated traffic enforcement device. And then we'll have some of our subcommittees. We'll have a discussion about subcommittees and then next steps. The first item is I think we did send out the meeting minutes from the December 16th, 2024 meeting to all committee members in advance. So I'm going to make a motion to approve those minutes. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Any opposed to adopting the minutes? Okay, I will take that as everyone approving. So we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is having our Transportation Committee leaders talk to us about what is going on this year in the General Assembly. From their perspective, what are the priorities for them as chairs and ranking members? But also it'd be helpful to hear from them, the leadership of the Transportation Committee, which created this council, as to what they would like us to focus on in the coming year, as we have a couple years under our belt of submitting recommendations to them. So I see two of the chairs are online. So I think Senator Cohen, maybe start with you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good morning, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here amongst a group of esteemed members of the Vision Zero Council. I am so appreciative of all of your work, which has really informed legislation over the past couple of years. So I'm here in gratitude and in conversation to make sure that we continue to work together to make our roadways safer for everybody out there. So I just wanted to start with that. I'm sure my co-chair shares my gratitude to all of you. There is a piece of legislation before the committee right now, which it pertains to a lot of the items that you've all been working on that we couldn't quite get across the finish line. And most of those are contained within Senate Bill 1375. There are sections in there pertaining to open containers, which I know Vision Zero has been a proponent of following federal guidance on and removing our open container law, as well as motorcycle helmets, which all of you, I'm sure, recognize has been very difficult for us to get over the finish line. And so we're taking a different approach this year, hopefully with the blessing of Vision Zero. I know I've spoken with the commissioner about this, and lowering the age to 21. It's not what I'd like to see. I'd love to see us have a motorcycle helmet law in place, but unfortunately, this is what will likely enable us to get it across that proverbial finish line. We also have components on increased penalties with respect to distracted driving, and many other components that will make our roadways safer, including crosswalk modifications and bicycle safety, including adding bicycle helmets for those who are 17 as well, 16 and 17 as well. Looking forward, and I'll keep it brief because I know that you all have a long agenda today, and more good work to do. And I know you want to hear from my co-chair and ranking members as well. But looking forward, some of the things that we've discussed as leadership and really thinking that the Vision Zero could take a lead on is contemplating the use of speed cameras on our roadways across the state on limited access highways. It's not something that has been done, so we would certainly be a leader in this regard, but there's really no reason that I can see that we couldn't implement the technology that we have across the state's roadways, not just on in municipalities with state roads seeking approval from DOT, but really as a deterrent for reckless driving, which we know is running rampant right now. Additionally, we're taking a look in following the lead of a couple of other states, Virginia most recently, in the installation of intelligent speed devices placed in vehicles after a reckless driving charge or several reckless driving charges. And similar to an interlock device that may be placed in a vehicle after a DUI, this would be a type of speed governor system placed in vehicles where they would not be able to obtain, a certain speed limit, get over a certain speed limit. And so those are the things that we're really hoping, we can move forward and have Vision Zero's collaboration and taking a deeper dive and providing recommendations back to the legislature. So with that, I'll turn it over to my esteemed co-chair and colleague and friend, Representative Amy Berger-Javala.
Thank you so much, Senator Cohen. Truly a pleasure being able to do this with you. And I'm really grateful to everybody who's here for the work that you've done. You really have helped to lay down this foundational groundwork for a lot of the work that we are trying to accomplish. So this is my first year as chair, having been vice chair in the previous term, the experience that I had with Vision Zero was one that really helped me to understand where the needs were, obviously, and what some of the solutions could be. But I also realized what the limitations were in terms of our colleagues and how little they know about actually many don't even know that the council exists. You kind of forget after you vote for a thing that a thing happened, and understandably, because I'm sure everybody hears about the drinking from a fire hose perspective and what we do. But what I'm realizing now in this position is that we have opportunity to educate our colleagues and our constituents and get their buy-in and support on some of the things that we're trying to do that may feel a little bit more controversial, may feel like a heavier lift. Perhaps before we get to that space, before we get to the time when we need to vote on these things. So just something that I wanted to bring to the council was the idea that maybe we could do some work as a committee to help to educate our own colleagues. And if you had any input, any feedback, everybody hears, I see Jim here who hears from our colleagues with regularity, obviously, Commissioner Ugolino, you guys in your department hear from us, but I think that they don't really understand the breadth. And that is, of course, our job as chairs to be able to communicate that. But we have so many folks coming to us, and I'm certain that it happens with Senator Cohen as well, who are looking for solutions immediately to the reckless driving on the highways, to the reckless driving on the local streets, the things that we're all seeing every single day when we're driving to Hartford or just around our communities. And they feel that nothing is being done. And so to be able to share what you guys are doing in some sort of compact way, I know that you brief us on the meetings, everything is public, all of that, but if there is any sort of way that we could collaborate with a simplified kind of answer that's sort of what I'm looking to create for our colleagues, so that when the questions come up, we can say, well, look, this is what we're doing, and now come back to us if you have any other questions. So it's not that I want to create homework for anybody. It's that I'm just trying to maybe kind of streamline some of the information that you guys provide to us, and maybe find a way for us to get a little buy-in on the earlier side, rather than waiting until we're running some sort of bill, or trying desperately to maybe change it, fix it, do whatever we need to do. The feedback piece is really important coming from our colleagues. They want to be heard, especially across multiple types of communities. And I just want to assure them they are being heard when you guys are doing the good work that you're doing. And I know that they are. I just want to be able to do a better job of communicating that. So that's just sort of where I'm looking at it at this point. Is the challenge ahead of me within my own caucus is how do I let my colleagues know that the work we're doing really is in line with what Vision Zero wants, which is exactly in line with what they and their constituents are asking for. So that's kind of where we're at. Christine did a wonderful job of explaining all the work that we're doing, and I am Debbie Downer, who brought you all the challenges. So I appreciate the opportunity to share that, but it's something that I'm personally very impassioned about, to try and make sure that everybody understands where we are and what the work is that's being accomplished. So thank you for that opportunity very much.
I also just want to, I can't believe that I didn't address 0.05. So that's another bill that we have out there that is extremely challenging. It is Senate Bill 1376 this year. And after a meeting with our police chiefs, the transportation subcommittee decided to add in some components around electronic warrants as well. But whether or not this is going to continue to see the light of day remains to be seen. Just significant challenges legislatively to get this done. So just wanted to throw that out there.
And really just a continuum of that, we often end up relitigating things that we've already passed. So when we're talking about the cameras, for example, red light cameras, and we want to make one technical change to the bill to let municipalities understand very clearly that they can repay the vendors, for example, as we've just done, as we've just voted on in committee. It's not always clear that what we're not trying to repass this law. It exists. So we realize that it is our job to make sure that we make no assumptions that people either thoroughly understand or even remember what we had already passed. So that's something that we have to consider, and that's what triggered my concern about our challenge in reframing the conversation to our colleagues and our constituents about what we're really doing.
Well, thank you both. Senator Cohen, I know you've been a leader on the safety front in your time as chair, and even before that, and Representative Berger-Javallo, same thing, but now as chair, you both are leading that. I know Representative Kennedy may be joining later, but I think from our side, we do our annual reports to you all. I guess if there's additional information we can be including in those reports that you as committee leadership or your members might find more helpful, please do let us know. I think we've been very successful since the creation of the council in providing you with information, and then you all taking some of that and passing new changes to laws, like the municipal speed safety cameras came about because of the creation of the council, some of the research, and that was submitted to you all. At the same time, talking like 0.05 and other things where opponents don't often come to us and tell us they're opposed or talk to us about it, right? And so I think it'd be helpful to try and start for us to start engaging with anyone who is opposed to these things, talk to us about it, because I'm surprised at how often people don't realize drunk driving is still a problem in Connecticut, or they don't bring forward any other potential solutions to it. So if it's not this, okay, let's have a conversation. What is the other solution? Because no one's bringing forward other solutions for how we can bend that curve of drunk driving in Connecticut. So I think all of us want to have those conversations with opponents, and appreciate you continuing to push to try and make our roads safer. Any other council members have questions for our chairs? Okay. So what we are going to be doing today is we're going to be getting our legislative updates from our agencies, but then also we are going to be talking about like our focus area for this year, what we want our various subcommittees of volunteers to work on. So that will be a key focus of ours during this discussion. And then we'll be sure to report back to you all on what our focus area will be for 2025. And if either of you or the nonpartisan staff or the caucus staff have ideas of other information that they'd like to see in our annual report, please do let us know so that we can focus on that in this calendar year as well. Okay. Well, Senator Cohen, Representative Berger-Javallo, thank you for spending time with us today. I know you have probably other hearings to be at today, so in multiple places at one time. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you all again for all that you do. Appreciate it and looking forward to continued cooperation and coordination.
Everything she said. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So Aaron, we will, when Representative Kennedy joins, we will have her, jump in to talk to us. But I think we can move on to the next section, which is agency legislative updates. So we put on the agenda just a few agencies, but we will open it up to all agencies to talk as well. So we'll start with ConnDOT. We have Phil Miniero, who took over as our legislative director here at ConnDOT. So I'll turn it over to him.
Hello, everyone. Phil Miniero, as Commissioner Euclid mentioned, I'm our new legislative director, taking over from Ann Kleza. Going to be going through a couple of our legislative proposals that ConnDOT drafted and raised earlier this year that have made it into legislation. The good Senator Cohen did mention most of them briefly, so I'll go a little bit deeper into detail. So starting with Senate Bill 1376, that is the 0.05 bill this year. We thought about all the comments from advocates and other groups last year, and we ended up raising or proposing strictly a 0.05 change to the existing DUI blood alcohol limit, I should say. Last year we had proposed an administrative DWAI bill, and going on the comments last year that advocates wanted to see the strongest proposal. So this year we proposed 0.05. It has been raised and heard in the committee. A lot of good testimony was submitted this year, so we do thank all the members of the Vision Zero Council who helped and submitted testimony in support of the bill. It made it to a joint favorable agenda, but was not voted or acted on yesterday, actually. So I'm hopeful that it'll move forward with the committee, but there's always some political issues out there with bills. And as the senator mentioned, this year it has some other items that were placed in the bill as drafted. So I'm sure that has some additional ramifications. Moving on, House Bill 7060 is our large transportation worker safety package. As many of you know, ConnDOT experienced a loss last year. Andrew DiDomenico was tragically killed while he was working on the highways. And so a large part of our package this year is focused on worker safety specifically, but also has an eye towards all the other groups of state workers and other entities and people that are in danger on our roadside. We have a driver safety training course that's modeled after what the state of Oklahoma adopted, I believe 2 years ago now, technically. We have some slight modifications and differences, but the basis of the course is it's a driver education training that focuses on work zone and roadside vehicle safety. So it's similar to some other driver education programs currently in statute and in effect in Connecticut that I think have seen some pretty good success, certainly since I received my driver's license. Some additional training's been inputted. The work zone course is going to be required for all new drivers, but also anyone who receives a ticket or a violation for a slow down, move over, or a endangerment of a highway worker will be need to repeat the course in person. The course also contains, obviously, educational materials, but I believe testimonials from highway workers and their families, and then a testing portion is required to sort of pass the education course. So very excited for that proposal. It's one of our top priorities. Hopeful that'll go forward this year. There's a tweak to the reckless driving statute. This was proposed last legislative session as well. The proposal is very simple. If you use your cell phone while you are driving on a limited access highway, that should be treated as reckless driving. I mean, it's pretty clearly an unsafe, negligent behavior, and the department's position has been that kind of rises to the level of reckless driving. So we proposed, and it's drafted to have use of cell phone on a limited access highway is going to be a per se violation of the reckless driving statute. And also within 7060, we have some increased penalties for slow down, move over violations and endangerment of a highway workers. Specifically, we raise the penalties if a crash occurs or a strike occurs and it results in the death of a worker or an occupant of a roadside vehicle or an emergency vehicle. We've raised the fine from the existing, I believe it was $10,000 to a $20,000 proposal, which seems to be in line with the other higher penalties in state statute for death resulting in bad action, let's say. The third bill focused on safety this year is Senate Bill 1375. That's highway and pedestrian safety. We increased the fines for crosswalk violations for endangerment of someone who's in a crosswalk. Many of you may mention this is a bill that's been tweaked in recent years. I think 2 or 3 years ago, Chairman Lamar added the ability for pedestrians to signal their intent to cross by waving or signaling to traffic. Unfortunately, even with that addition, we've seen, and I'm sure all of you have heard of some rather tragic crosswalk incidents around the state. And so we proposed increasing the fine this year. That has made it into a bill and was heard, and hopefully we'll be moving forward. What I'm sure will be the most popular bill of the, or at least proposal of the legislative session, is a clarification and prohibition on left lane camping. We've all been driving on a highway, and we've all seen someone holding slower than the traffic flow in the leftmost lane. We all see it generates pretty regular aggressive driving responses and behavior. So this year we proposed the change coming actually from our Office of State Traffic Administration to prohibit people from traveling in the leftmost lane. Currently, the only real prohibition on law was on, to my understanding, on tractor trailers in the leftmost lane of a 3-lane highway. So we expand that prohibition to all highways and all drivers. I think everybody in the traveling public will be probably thankful just for frustration purposes, but hopefully we'll see a significant decrease in aggressive driving behaviors and the resulting accidents that come from it. As the senator mentioned, we proposed motorcycle helmets. The bill this year would mandate them until the rider's 21 years of age, which is seems to be a good middle ground from what's been proposed over the years. We'll see where that goes. I'm hopeful it'll pass out of committee and we'll get some momentum behind it, but we'll see. We also have a tweak to the prohibited electronic devices statute. So when that statute was originally drafted, cell phones, especially, and things like DVD players, mobile DVD players, were the technology of issue at the day that the state was concerned with for distraction. Now there are small devices, they look almost similar to plug into your computer, called video converters. When you plug them into your car, it has the ability to play on whatever screen is within your car. You can, stream live video services like Netflix or your Amazon Prime. Obviously, this is incredibly dangerous. It invites people to watch TV while driving. So this year we propose that video converters, or really any device that's going to play video playing that's visible to the driver when the vehicle is in operation, so I believe how the language is crafted, we added that to the list of existing prohibited mobile devices. And hopefully we will easily, I can't imagine anyone in the legislature would want their constituency, being able to watch, Ted Lasso or whatever while they're driving to work. But, crazier things have happened, but hopefully that will go through, and we'll see that signed into law. We also proposed open containers again this year, which made its way into 1375. It's a proposal we do regularly in the department. And we will see where it goes this year. There have been some resistance in other years with concerns based on tailgating and some other kind of similar concerns. But I believe the language that we used and is drafted this year kind of alleviates most of us. So hopefully we'll see that progress further and hopefully make it to the floor this year. And that is a quick, or not so quick, medium update of the DOT's legislative proposals focused on safety this year.
Phil, any questions for Phil about any of DOT's legislative proposals? Seeing none. Okay. I appreciate many of you were involved in reviewing some of our bills or submitting testimony on our bills. So appreciate your agency's involvement in that. Okay. Next, Aaron, I think, who's up next? Nope, you jumped 2 slides, I think. Yep, so I don't know if DMV, DESP, DPH, DCJ, anyone else has any other safety tied proposals. Jim, I don't know if DMV, I apologize for in advance not looking at the proposals of the other agencies. It's been a crazy session already for all of us, right? So.
Yeah, certainly, Commissioner, thank you. I do and can give a couple of very quick updates, and thank you for the introduction, and good to see everyone, as always. As with many state agencies, DOT and others included, a major focus for DMV is advancement of an agency bill that we propose in front of the Transportation Committee every year. That number currently is number 7160. And typically our goals for our state agency bill, just high level, are to provide consistent enforcement, streamline a process for our customers, protect consumers as well, but also to advance driver safety and measures that do intersect in those areas. Most of the DMV bill I would call minor and technical changes to certain processes, but Commissioner, I would mention one provision that was added to 7160 that folks may have heard about and has caught a little bit of attention through the committee. It is a look at the linkage or a potential linkage between operator sanctions for impaired driving between boating licenses and motor vehicle licenses or driver licenses. It wasn't something that the DMV necessarily proposed, but certainly we've been involved in those discussions and something we are interested in exploring, understanding that operation of machinery and doing it in an impaired fashion certainly has intersection between those with a driver's license and those with a boating license. As of right now, those sanctions are separate. Those are parallel, but separate processes. So it is something that I know the Transportation Committee is very interested in on both sides of the aisle, and something that we expect to hear a little bit more from certainly as they move into the final week of their committee deliberations. So something to keep an eye on as far as that's concerned. The other quick things, Commissioner, I would mention very quickly that does touch public safety as well and driver safety is there is a lot of attention and substantial attention on the towing industry this year, both non-consensual towing that takes place on private property, but also, Commissioner, something DOT is very interested in, which is clearing heavier motor vehicles from highways and police involvement with those. There's been a lot of discussion about that. There are two bills right now on those topics. 7162 is non-consensual towing for private and individual situations. The medium and heavy duty towing is Senate Bill 1449 as well. There is some discussion that those two bills may be merged. Obviously, a lot of intersection on what's going on with both of those. But another one that we expect to hear a little bit more from, certainly as the committee heads toward its deadline and moving forward. Just as a last point, and Phil mentioned it as well, the 7060 bill about work zone worker safety and the retraining course that folks would be required to take. We are happy to support and collaborate with the DOT on that proposal, knowing it would be DMV that does have to play in part for any sanction that would have to come down on that front. So I think those are probably provide the best highlight, Commissioner, and I appreciate the opportunity. It's always good to see you.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions for DMV? Susan?
Sorry, I was raising my hand to just talk about DPH, but I'll wait
Go
till
ahead.
the question to go for Jim. But
I'm all
does
set,
anybody have
Susan.
any
Thank
questions for Jim?
Okay, Susan, dive in. What's going on with DPH? Thank you.
So yeah, so we didn't propose any transportation related bills, but just wanted to let you folks know that we did support a couple of the bills that have been proposed by DOT. One of which, or a couple of them, are 1375 and 1376, as well as House Bill 7060. And there's certain sections of 1375 that our commissioner bills that are, really have public health implications. And those would be sections 3, 4, 5, and 6. 3 would be raising the age requirement for helmets from 18 to 21. Section 4 is including language about the installed screen or other means of displaying a video that could result in distracted driving and, of course, accidents. Section 5, which has to do with which is new, which has to do with the alcoholic beverages in the passenger area. So I think that's something that the commissioner felt had public health implications. And finally, Section 6 related to the raise the age requirement of bicyclist headgear, protective headgear for the ages of 15 to under 17 years of age. So just want to let you know that we're watching those, and we are in support of those particular bills and sections of those bills.
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, I saw Commissioner Gittani at the hearing when I was there to testify, and appreciated her presence there. And she wasn't able to stay because my testimony was taking too long, but she did submit the testimony.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Any other agencies or council members want to give an update on any of your legislative efforts? Okay, seeing none. Okay, Aaron? Okay, so we did ask Lieutenant to give an update. I know Commissioner Higgins at DESP and this Colonel Lockman at State Police have been doing an effort around some heightened enforcement on the highways and using data to help target that. So we asked Lieutenant Citron for an update on that effort to maybe brief the council. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you all the folks on the council for giving me this opportunity on behalf of the Colonel and the Commissioner thank you. And thank you for your efforts alongside us to continue the good work that we're trying to do here. If I may bother you guys with some statistical facts real quick from our 2024 rundown from 2023. It does look like a decrease of fatal accidents. This is very particular to state police jurisdiction, but it looks like a decrease of 7.75 at this time. So a couple of the fatals that we worked on as a traffic unit and as a cars unit were found to be later on caused, they were untimely deaths caused by natural causes. Now, as unfortunate as that is, it adds to the numbers of fatals that weren't caused by aggressive driving or preventative issues. So it looks like our numbers right now as they stand, and these are always subject to change based on findings later on. From 2023, the year whole was about 129 fatals. That went down last year to 119. A lot of our fatals, most of them occurred on Sundays. Most of them occurred between the hours of 15 and 1600. And they were, which is probably no surprise to anybody, I-91 in Troop H's area. So in response to our growing fatal collision problem, what the department implemented was our fatal mitigation enforcement initiative. So what we did with the great work that UConn has done with the repository and DOT supported, as well as DOT stats and the statistics from our collision analysis reconstruction squad, we have narrowed down the roads that seem to be largely catastrophic when it comes to driving incidents or aggressive driving behaviors. It's no surprise again that 91 led the charge with numerous instances of violations, as well as a large amount of fatals. So in 2023, excuse me, I'm sorry, just looking for my stats here by roadway. Excuse me, in 2024, I-91 was responsible for 22 collisions, and in 2023, it was responsible for 19 fatal collisions. So it's always either first or tied for first historically. So what we've done is we've implemented that fatal mitigation initiative, and out of that came a load of statistics. Excuse me while I pull them up here. So with that was 6,425 hours dedicated to that enforcement initiative. Out of that, 10,370 traffic stops were conducted, 8,727 infractions were issued, 1,643 warnings were issued. The largest working force behind this was Troop H with 2,223 hours. Granted, again, they had I-91 and I-84, which were at the top of the fatal accident list. And we had a lot of really good buy-in from the troops. We had good buy-in from the department. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that might have led to a little bit of that decrease in fatal collisions. You know, we were out there, again, statistically analyzing the roadways that need enforcement interventions. We also, what we did is we're working better to optimize that program with the DOT Highway Safety Office grants. So like right now we have HRRR in the works. That's been hot and heavy. The media has actually played a very good part in that. So what we do is I don't want to say tone back our fatal mitigation, but we want to put the highway safety stuff at the forefront and work it in with that fatal mitigation effort so that we're getting the highest efficacy for all the monies, all the funds, and all the initiatives. So this enforcement period for high-risk roads, as you guys may know, runs till May. Normally we have click it or ticket in, I think, June. So in between those efforts, what we do is we'll ramp up the fatal mitigation to kind of supplement those highway safety endeavors. To the point that some of the other folks had made, we are obviously, we were personally touched by tragedy as DOT was with DiDomenico and the Pelletier deaths last year. So what we're doing on the traffic unit side is as we come into summer, click it or ticket ramps up, the construction ramps up, the projects ramp up. We're going to be doing unit initiatives where we supplement the big orange funding with our unit efforts where we will be enforcing move over laws heavily. So we're going to send teams of guys out to these areas where maybe there's not a big orange assignment that week, or maybe we do it in supplement of that big orange assignment if it's a large project, and we hammer down on the move over law. That amongst other things, but the move over will be emphasized. And what we could do is work with DOT's PIO, our PIO, and really put the message out there that, hey, you know, on the heels of these tragedies, we're going to come out kind of swinging when it comes to work zone and emergency personnel safety. Let me see. We're participating in what's called the Operation Blarney Stone, and what that is, it's started by Pennsylvania and New York State Police in conjunction with New Jersey State Police. This year, they've reached out to us, Rhode Island State Police, and Mass State Police, and March 24th through the 26th. It's just a large enforcement endeavor focused on driving and dangerous, aggressive driving, but seeing if we could get things deeper than that, other crimes, maybe larger crimes that are, you know, on the surface, oh, this guy was speeding, but then we take that and we investigate deeper. So what we do is we do a large scale initiative with them on roads where the states meet. And they said they've had great numbers. What I'll do is after the initiative, I'll reach back out to Pennsylvania, who seems to be coordinating this, and we'll have a lot of statistics for you guys on that initiative. It'll be something probably yearly that we'll take part of at the end of March. And the whole idea behind that is to target aggressive driving behaviors, again, that may lead to more serious incidents, or that we look for more serious incidents coming out of the crux of winter. Because unfortunately, once summer comes out, you know, the attitudes change, the weather gets nice, and people sometimes get crazy. So our job is to conduct those interventions with them on that. I think that'll be a nice interstate intervention mechanism. And again, it drives some buy-in when you know other agencies and other departments are also doing the same thing you are at the same time. And we can use it to reach out to the folks out there, the public, and let them know, hey, we're still here. We have our initiatives and we're working for you. Tint meters, back to, I think, what Phil was saying in regards to pedestrian safety. So we did allocate a bunch of tint meters. We did bring them out to the road. One of the complaints we got a lot with the pedestrian stuff was they couldn't make eye contact with a lot of the drivers because of the heavy tint on the windshield. So we actually had to change, and I don't remember if I mentioned this at our last meeting, but historically the tint meters were one solid piece of equipment that you could only put on the windows that could roll down. We really couldn't test the windshield and the back window. But now, as technology progresses and gets crazier, we have a magnetic meter which we can put on either side of a window, and it connects, and we can get those readings of tints for the front window. So, you know, when people are trying to cross the street, they can signal and everything, but if they have no idea if that driver can see them, it just causes, you know, much more issues. So we're going to be using those you know, during our regular enforcement, so that we can really crack down on some of that window tint item. And I think that was a hot topic for a while because everybody's tinted out nowadays. And again, the folks crossing the streets can't make eye contact. They can't see them. I believe that's it. We've put a small, there's been a lot of fiscal questions and items like that. So what we've done is we've paused that fatal mitigation program for now. We'll probably kick it back up at the end of the HRRR initiative. And then that way we can use some of the 2025 stats as they come in to kind of analyze if the same roadways are of concern on average, you know, from 2022 to now. Is it the same times a day? Is it the same kind of mechanisms of crash that we're seeing? Again, I think the statistically based approach is the best, because when you work on averages, they don't lie, right? This is the facts of how many accidents have happened on what roads, what time of day, and there's a lot of consistencies we see that we can call those interventions. You know, we can angle those shifts towards those times of day and those highways, and really attack those aggressive driving concerns. At this point, you know, we'll continue with what we're doing. If you guys need anything, I'm always available. Please reach out by phone or email. And I hope I didn't take too long. I hope it wasn't too short, but whatever you guys need, if you guys have any questions, please fire away.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Susan?
Yeah, I had a question about the tinting of the windows. So at what point, when you do make a traffic stop, how are you finding those folks? How are you determining whether or not they actually make the change?
Well, when we write infractions and we write warnings, what we do is they are logged in the computers in our MDT systems, so we can see if somebody's been an avid violator of the same rules and laws, and that'll dictate a lot of things. Well, you know, obviously, if somebody's been warned 6 times for tints, I think the appropriate next step would be an infraction. You know, it's going to cost you some money. But what we can also do is refer them to DMV for inspection. And I don't quote me on this, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that DMV could take enforcement action on registrations and things like that with their lack of compliance, if there is a lack of compliance on that end. Unfortunately, we're kind of hands tied with some things. It's not like we can just tow them away for being tinted or anything like that, but we can cost them money, time, and inconvenience. And I hate to say it, but those are the things that get you buy-in when you're trying to have these interventions with folks. But yeah, on normal traffic stops, you know, we can conduct a traffic stop on the probable cause of their tints being illegal. But at the same time, it's a beautiful thing that if we pull somebody over for speeding, it's not very difficult to see that, hey, these tints look illegal. Hey, I'm gonna verify that with my equipment here, and then that could go from a speeding ticket that's $300 or something to a speeding tint ticket, which is almost $500.
Right.
And I hate to say it, but you got to hit a lot of these folks in the wallet for them to really feel it.
Right. And another thing, you know, you talked about pedestrian safety, but I also find that in my own experience, you know, driving, you know, alongside someone who has a very heavily tinted windows, you know, when you're trying to, you know, signal them in order to say, okay, I want to pull in front of you or something, you know, you're trying to make eye contact to make sure they see you. So I think it would avoid accidents too on the roadways if, you know, you could actually see those folks in the driver's seat. So just wanted to mention that as well.
Absolutely. Driving's a coordinated effort, right? We all have to kind of work together so we can navigate these roads safely. And if we can't even see what the next guy's, you know, intent is or what he's doing, I mean, then you're just leaving it up to chance and randomness, and that probably never really works out for anybody. So I absolutely agree. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Lieutenant. Yeah, I mean, when I bring up concerns about tinting, people tell me I'm overreacting, but it is like driving is synchronized effort amongst everyone on the road, and you need to be able to see the individual who's next to you or behind you, in front of you. I've just been shocked at the number of people who have the blacked out windshields now, which, you know, 10 years ago, I didn't really see that. Now it's everywhere. And it's scary. And, you know, one thing I did not mention, thank you for bringing up Trooper First Class DiDomenico. So as part of our legislative package requiring driver education in work zone and roadside vehicle safety, we also have a renaming or a naming of a bridge after, you know, Trooper Pelletier, as well as a road after Andrew DiDomenico, and try to raise more awareness about the need for people to slow down and move over. So I appreciate the efforts of state police to do enforcement around that in the coming months, because so many people in the public don't know that they're supposed to slow down and move over. They don't pay attention to it. It's just shocking the number of people you see ignoring that. And it's not just state workers, it's construction workers, it's tow operators, it's DMV enforcement out there. It's the public. I mean, the fact that we've had so many pedestrians killed on limited access highways this year who got out of their vehicle, right? If their vehicle is broken down, that's the reason why we need to slow down and move over. Any other questions from council members? No? Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate all you do. Actually, I will say I was one of your colleagues from Troop H took me out for a ride along this week, 2 days ago. So I spent the morning seeing what you all do. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Next, I believe, is the Office of State Traffic Authority. We're going to have an update from our OSTA Executive Director, Joe Ouellette, to talk to us about where we are with these municipal speed and red light camera programs, because this was one of the big efforts of the Vision Zero Council. So, Joe, I will turn it over to you.
Good morning, Commissioner. Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to provide a brief report out to the council regarding automated traffic enforcement safety devices known as ATSDs in Connecticut. Before I get to where we are today with ATSDs, I want to provide a brief summary of how we got here. It all started in May 2023 when Public Act 23-116 was passed by the Connecticut General Assembly, which had an effective date of October 1st, 2023. That Public Act has since been codified in the Connecticut General Statutes under Section 14-307, excuse me. The legislation allows municipalities to install ATSDs under 4 different scenarios: traffic signals for red light running, school zones for speeding, pedestrian safety zones for speeding, and other locations for speeding. Before municipalities can install an ATSD on any public road, they need first to prepare an ATS plan, which needs to be reviewed and approved by OSTA. Also, the statutes require numerous things that need to be included in this plan, and some of the elements include an ordinance by the municipalities allowing the use of ATSDs, a plan showing the location and type of the ATSDs, as well as a written explanation of how and why an ATSD was selected for each location. In January of 2024, the department developed an ATSD plan guidance for municipalities, as well as numerous other resources which are available on the DOT website. To date, there have been 4 ATSD plan applications and only 1 plan has been approved. The approved plan is in the town of Washington, and the plans in New Haven and Stamford are waiting. We're waiting for the municipality, to address some minor comments made by OSTA. The city of Middletown just submitted an application last week, and that one is under review. Based on all the applications received to date, the types of devices they're requesting it's pretty even. 9 have requested school zones, 11 for red light running cameras, and 12 locations include speed corridors. My office has been in contact with dozens and dozens of communities regarding questions on how to get started regarding ATSDs. Every week we receive a new inquiry for a new community. We send them to the guidance. We try to help them wherever possible. So to that end, my office continues to promote the use of ATSDs. And over the next couple of weeks, there are numerous roundtable discussions regarding ATSDs, one of which should be hosted by the Capital Region Council of Governments, as well as the Connecticut Training and Technical Assistance at UConn. That's also known as the T2 Center. My final note is the department is currently working on guidance for municipalities regarding the report that details the overall effectiveness of their ATS plan. This is a report that the municipalities are required to prepare for. The initial plan is 18 months after the first camera is turned on, and they're required to provide an annual report thereafter. So like I said, we're currently working on that guidance, which will be shared with all the municipalities regarding how to do that and best practices. That's my report for this morning.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions from council members? Joe. I will say, the legislation was passed and it really then fell to Joe, as well as our Chief of Legal and Regulatory Affairs, Liz Keys, to figure out how to establish the guidelines for municipalities, how to stand up the program. And really OSTA has been instrumental in working with municipalities as they refine to ensure that they're meeting the word of the law, which is critically important. And I know there's been some complaints that it's burdensome to actually apply, but that is what the legislature wanted. They wanted something that was really a high bar to get these cameras stood up, so that it was very clear it's focused on safety and not revenue generation. And I think that's proving to be the case here. So thank you, Joe, and thank you to your whole team at OSTA working on this.
Thank you.
Okay. So Aaron, we'll move on to the next agenda item, subcommittees. I want to have a discussion about our subcommittees. As you can see there, as a reminder, these are our 4 subcommittees that are in place, and it's made up of volunteers. We have state staff on each subcommittee, but also many volunteers from across the transportation safety sectors are putting in time and effort to help prepare the recommendations, hold the meetings, and ultimately provide the guidance that is being sent over to the legislature. A lot of the recommendations coming from the subcommittees ended up being implemented by the legislature, or if not adopted into law, have made it into various bills each of the sessions. We did have Public Act 23-116, which was a large package of Vision Zero recommendations. So I know our subcommittees are really looking for guidance from us at the council level as to how we should be approaching their work, or how they should be approaching their work over the course of this calendar year. One thing I'd like to pose to you as council members is one of my thoughts, which, now that we've had several different provisions take effect in the Public Act, changes to law, I think what might be helpful is for our various subcommittees to use this year to take stock of implementation of those changes. What was changed in law? How is it playing out on the ground? Are we seeing any improvements or behavioral changes or infrastructure changes that we should always be reevaluating what was passed and what became law, instead of just passing something and then moving on. So that's what I'd like to, propose we as council recommend to the subcommittees. But like to hear you as council members, your feedback, what you might want the various subcommittees to be focused on, so that they can have some guidance moving forward for 2025. John?
Thank you, Commissioner. Just another comment on the subcommittees. I recently found out, it was my understanding when we first came together that we were trying to get representation from each of the state agencies that are here to also sit on the subcommittees, not specifically the folks that are on this council, but someone in addition to. And I recently found out that that there is no representation from my agency, and I was not made aware of that change, or that whoever we had was no longer a part of it. So I think if those updates are provided to us, that would be helpful, because I do have someone currently on my, she's new to our I should say, are new to our agency, and they might be interested in sitting on one of the subcommittees. And so if I could also get updated information on what the subcommittees are working on, what their function is, so that I can get that over to this individual, they would express interest in potentially joining one of the subcommittees.
Sure. Yeah. So the most recent annual report does have the rosters for each, and a summary of what each subcommittee met on in the past year. But yes, we can resend and give you a summary update from each of the chairs as well.
That's great. Thank you, Commissioner.
ADS on each of them.
What's that? I'm sorry.
It'd be great to have ADS on the expanded presence on the subcommittees.
Definitely. Thank you.
Susan?
Yeah, regarding your comments about the implementation evaluation, what's the DOT's capacity or thoughts about having an evaluator evaluate those particular bills? Because that's something that's kind of like a big effort from like the different agencies to kind of to do that, unless there was funding or some sort of evaluator on board, an evaluation team on board to really look at those bills and look at the impact of those bills. Because you mentioned behavior change and anything that might have been affected by these bills being passed and implemented. Just a question there. Thanks.
Yeah, I think with all agencies, right, limited resources. We do have our Highway Safety Office, which does a lot of work, data crunching, evaluating. We get monthly trends on all crash reports, working with UConn. They do the analysis for us as well through the crash data repository work. So we're able to see, crash information, fatal information, impairment, those types of things. But we're not currently going in and looking at what is our municipalities adopting any of these recommended changes, those types of things, we do know that there's been changes with respect to, for instance, one of the laws was around, and it wasn't specifically tied to the Vision Zero Council, but it was a legislative effort around having local traffic authorities receive some training on each year on transportation safety, traffic, how to do their job as local traffic authorities, because they're the ones in each municipality making decisions on roads and road safety issues. So that we know the T2 Center at UConn is implementing, and they provided us information on how many people have come through that training. But more deep dive analysis of each individual legislative proposal that passed, we're not conducting that today, Sterling.
Yeah, similarly, we had done an evaluation of a bill, some changes in our opioid monitoring, and looking at the Good Samaritan law around giving life-saving efforts to folks who are experiencing an overdose. So we actually did have an evaluator look at those, that bill and implementing those bills. And, I think it was helpful to get that perspective on what has changed around, people's knowledge of the Good Samaritan laws or the different bills that were passed over the years related to opioid use and overdose.
And maybe what the subcommittees can help in is like looking at what passed and then identify specific areas where they think there's a need to do a deeper dive in implementation, effectiveness or implementation, rather than just a scattershot looking at everything. Maybe have the subcommittees look at what's been passed, what's moved forward in the state, what has not moved forward in the state, and maybe where they think we need as state agencies to do some better data gathering to help inform the work. Identify the gaps, essentially do a SWOT or gap analysis there. Any other council members have thoughts on that? Okay. I know some of our subcommittee co-chairs are on. I will call on any of our subcommittee co-chairs if you want to speak up, ask some, give some ideas or ask questions of us as well. Terry.
Good morning, everybody. I have a question, Commissioner, on the evaluation and implementation. The subcommittees, there's a lot of crossing, or where we all have this similar needs. So I don't know exactly if maybe we collectively need to get together as a subcommittee and then pick and choose which area we're going to be evaluating on the implementation side, because a lot of us have the same things in all of our subcommittees. So I just wanted to bring that up as to how we need a little bit more direction on that if you want us to look at specific areas.
Yeah, and maybe Aaron can pull together a meeting of all the co-chairs to have a discussion for co-chairs to identify specific areas in which their subcommittee wants to focus based on the affinity group that is the makeup, right? So enforcement will have a specific affinity towards a topical area versus engineering. Chuck?
Sorry, I had to find the turn on the audio. I just wanted to bring one thing up that, there's been a lot of legislation passed, but beyond the legislation, I think that this Vision Zero has also helped is we've been making policy changes in some of the departments. And I think some of that might have bigger impacts. I know you were championing the complete streets policy that's now at the department. I think that's changing the way, pedestrians are being addressed in all the projects. I think that was a big deal. And there's been other policy changes. We put it forward for for looking at how intersections are designed to be more open and for the public to understand why we do things. So I think beyond just legislation, we have done a lot of policy changes. I don't know if we would want to investigate how those have been effective, or if that's something, I'm not sure where we want to go with that.
No, that's a great point. And maybe that would be beneficial for subcommittees to flag those as well in your end of year report of specific policy changes that or programs that agencies have implemented without specific legislative guidance to do so. For instance, what state police is doing today with the targeted enhanced enforcement efforts that Lieutenant just reported out on. Something like that would be beneficial to highlight, because as we heard from the co-chairs, their members are seeking more information from us as to what's happening, because a lot of them are not focused on this every day, like many people on this call are. So a more targeted transmittal of information as to what has been occurring, right? A summary of what has occurred, both at the programmatic and policy level, but also in terms of implementing or actuating changes based on laws too. So yeah, maybe having each of the subcommittees co-chairs, or have your subcommittees meet or even transmit over email to identify areas that are important to you all. And then we can have the meeting with the co-chairs to talk about that analysis. So that would be my recommendation, is have each of the subcommittees discuss, whether via a meeting or via an email chain, about what areas that are important to you all to look at, whether policy or legislative in the past. And then we can, Aaron and I can pull together a meeting to meet with all of you at the co-chair level to have a discussion. Okay, Al?
Hey, Commissioner. Thanks for all the info on the guidance. Just one question or thought, I guess. I saw the legislation that was referenced earlier by Senator Cullen about the intelligent speed assistance devices that seemed to direct the study of those devices and how to implement them be done by the Vision Zero Council. And I feel like that's an area, I guess we'll probably know by the next meeting of the Vision Zero Council whether that bill passes. I feel like the subcommittees and ours in particular, but I think multiple of them could be very helpful with that.
Yes, great point for bringing that up. Senator Cohen did reference that. So just to clarify, she did in a proposed or a raised bill, which may or may not become law. The Transportation Committee is proposing having the Vision Zero Council look at intelligent speed devices, and having the Senator referenced Virginia, where they've passed a bill that would require someone, I believe, for reckless driving or over a certain speed, similar to drunk driving, where you have to install an ignition interlock device. With these extreme speeds, the individual who's convicted would have to install an intelligent speed control or speed assistance device. So she'd like the Vision Zero Council to look at that. So I think by the next meeting, we'll know whether that has passed and on its way to becoming law. And then I think we'll all want to talk about, okay, how do we pull together an effort to look at that and report back to the legislature, probably a subset of individuals from each subcommittee to do a little task force to look at that and report back. There's not too much information out there right now, but we definitely would need to bring in others as well. I know Division of Criminal Justice will need to be heavily involved, DMV heavily involved, but we probably would also want to engage with the judicial branch to get some of their input too, so we can adequately report back to the Transportation Committee. So that will be a definite focus area if that passes. Okay, so for all the subcommittee chairs, my ask to you would be to start communicating with your members. And then Aaron and I will be in touch to set up a meeting for the subcommittee chairs to just talk with him and myself in the next month or so, once you've heard back from some of your members, and then we can all discuss collectively about what the focus areas will be in terms of topical areas of a backwards look, and report back out. Okay. One issue I did want to talk about, just in light of a lot that's going on at the federal level, is something that has come up, elevated up to us as a question, is renaming some of our subcommittees. There's a target on efforts that are focused on diversity, equity, inclusion. There's a lot of feelings on both sides whether individuals should try and focus on continuing the work. I guess the phrase that I've heard is change the words, not the work. Or do we continue on with the names we adopted when we formed these subcommittees? So I want to turn it over to the two co-chairs if either of you wanted to say anything around that. If you've talked to your members about that, we want to be deferential to the efforts that the Equity Subcommittee has put in to date on this effort.
Thank you, Commissioner. At this point, we hadn't met with our members to discuss that specific renaming topic, but whether it's the name, the work still is needed to make sure that we're representing those who are being affected that might not be being addressed. So I definitely think that the work is still needed, whether it gets reorged or renamed. And one of the reasons when I brought it up, like a lot of the resources that are on the website that either went to federal websites are no longer available or are under construction. So like the resources that used to be available are also being taken away. So there might be more opportunities for us to recreate or continue to have those resources that used to be.
No, it's a great point. I think that the effort here at the federal level is kind of broad in scope. So for those not paying attention in the transportation space to this, right? It's not just a DEI things that are being taken down from federal pages or being canceled. Some of the executive orders talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. So we have seen some federal research projects tied to specifically pedestrian access for individuals with mobility impairments be canceled. And that is a specific area focused on compliance under the Americans with Disability Act. So it's very concerning to me that those types of efforts focus on ensuring ADA compliance, ensuring full access for every individual to be able to go up a curb ramp and walk down a sidewalk or safely get across the street, safely board a bus, are being canceled, and funding being removed. So it's even more important for us to continue that work here in the state. And so, John, I'll let you jump in.
Thanks, Commissioner. I was just going to say, to the degree that I can be helpful in any of those discussions across the subcommittees, by all means, that's one of the reasons I'm here. So please reach out. I'm a resource. Happy to help in any way I can.
Thanks, John. Yeah. So Katie and Alec, I don't think unless any other council members feel differently, I don't think we want to make a decision on a renaming effort unless, you as chairs and your council member or your subcommittee members come forward with a recommendation. We still have here at the DOT, we still have an equity advisory committee and our diversity council. So we're continuing those efforts internally. We're not using federal funds for those efforts. So I see no need to change my efforts internally here. But I'll defer to you and your members of the subcommittee on what your recommendations end up being.
Thank you.
Okay. Aaron, so is there anything else there? Okay, I'll turn over to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everyone, for today's good discussions. We're looking ahead to next steps and future meeting dates. Before we get to public comment, as far as future topics for meetings, it sounds like you know, I think the council probably wants to hear more about ISA, regardless of whether that bill passes or not. It's something that the council can think about, and even if they're not mandated to make recommendations, they might continue to learn more about it and make recommendations for the future. So we'll work to try to get some more. We had the NTSB ISA presentation last year. We'll work to try to get some more ISA material in front of you all. And then we're also going to look to continue with like the local or council of government level Vision Zero spotlights, find out what's going on in our communities that have Vision Zero initiatives. Those are some things we can plan to hear about for these future meetings. We have the dates up here. Try to stick to them as best as we can, but that's when we'll get together. And with that, we can, unless anybody else has anything, we can move to public comment. Just a reminder for folks, please raise your hand to be called on or enter your question in the field, in the Q&A field. And we're going to prioritize in-person questions over those in the Q&A field. And with that, we can get started. I'm not seeing any hands raised yet. We do have a few questions in the Q&A field. First one from Robert Dickinson. Has anyone seen a study of the crashes, deaths, risks, or riding in unprotected bike lanes?
So I know, I mean, I would just refer the question to Transportation Research Board. National Cooperative Highway Research Program has thousands of completed research projects, many of which are focused on vulnerable road users. So I think that'd be the place to start with that specific question. And then, you know, NHTSA or Federal Highway probably has some materials on that as well. We did just get NCHRP Research Report 1136 On-Street Bicycle Facility Design Features Guide just came in the mail this week. So I have not cracked it open yet, but I just got it on my desk when I got back to the office today. So I think that's NCHRP Research Report 1136 is the most recent one from TRB on street bicycle designs.
Thank you, Commissioner. Also from Robert Dickinson, another comment and question. One drink leads to less concern for having more. Why not enforce policy of if you drink, don't drive, and have a limit of 0.02, like I believe Sweden and some other countries have?
Well, I think that's why we are, our agency is pushing for 0.05. And it is in line with much of the world. And so, but as we see in our state legislature and across the country, there is significant pushback on the effort to go to 0.05, but doesn't mean we stop trying.
Thank you. Next question from Juliet Little. Will a vehicle be towed if it has a mirror tin? I don't know if that, we heard a little bit about that from Lieutenant Cintron, but.
Yeah, I'll turn it over to the lieutenant to maybe if he has a answer on that one.
So no, we're not. I mean, we're not going to tow a vehicle for a mirror tint. I don't think that would bode well for anybody. And yeah, I'd have to look into the statute specifically to see what the percentage is even to take enforcement action. In all honesty, but if it is found to be a violation of statute, you know, we start the fines, we start the referrals to DMV, and I think that's the step to start. And I know, you know, even unofficially, sometimes when these interactions happen, people are willing to peel the tint off their window on the spot, even before, you know, they get the infraction. So if that's something we can facilitate without even having to take that enforcement action, and the objective gets done, which is the removal of the tint, and therefore, you know, and they don't have it anymore, and it's not an obstacle to safety, then I think our objective was complete there. If people are willing to do that and fix the issue on site. But it is progressive, so, with the discretion of the trooper and everything that's going on and what the statute allows us to do, we will be taking that on. And I have to see, unfortunately, those tint meters haven't been out long enough to get real statistical data back from these particular ones. But once we have something, if it's tangible and significant, I will definitely report back to everyone here about that.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more. We don't have any hands up. From Sarah Roy, less a question than a suggestion. I'd invite the VZ council members to consider replacing the word accident with crash when describing collisions. When a plane falls from the sky, we don't call it an accident, and that was seconded from Judith Proctor.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Judith.
Judith asks, is there anything the public can do to move the BAC bill along?
Yeah, I mean, so every member of the public has the opportunity to either submit testimony or contact your legislators and weigh in on which bills are priorities for you. I know in some of the bills this session there was a lot of testimony. On others there was less. So that's where I'd start is look at the individual piece of legislation tied to BAC, and then contact your legislators on those if those are of interest to you. We as agencies, we weigh in with legislators, with committees, with testimony on specific bills that are of interest to us as officially as agencies. You'll see many times some staff of state agencies submit testimony, but in their personal capacity. But in official capacity, you'll usually see commissioners weigh in on behalf of an agency. So members of the public can do that as well.
Okay, we don't have any raised hands or any open questions. One just came in from Adam Weber. I would like to echo one of the opening statements from our representative that speed enforcement cameras should be expanded to limited access highways. We should look into devices that log vehicles point to point along a length of highway rather than one location, as drivers will be more likely to slow down for a known camera location and speed up again later compared to a longer safety corridor.
Yep. Thank you, Adam. That was when we had a hearing on that. That was one thing I brought up is the when you have it through the entire corridor, it encourages them to drive more appropriate speed through the entire corridor, the point-to-point camera technology versus a fixed stationary point. So definitely looking forward to seeing what the legislature does with that this session.
For another minute, we don't have any questions at the moment.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank all the council members for joining this morning. I will say we didn't start with these numbers, but we got new numbers this morning from UConn and the Crash Data Repository team. As of March 12th, we had 40 deaths on the roadways. As of March 12th of last year, we were at 71. And as March 12th of 2022, we were at 60. So we are optimistically below where we were the past several years at this point in the year. Still 40 too many people killed on our roadways, but it's fewer than the past. So that is one positive note to end this meeting on. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Have a safe and great weekend celebrating St. Patrick's Day, but do it safely. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.